The morning sun painted the red rocks of Kepler 442 billion in bright orange light. Nari wiped sweat from her face as she checked the mineral scanner one more time. The device beeped softly, showing good readings for the rare metals they needed to find. Another successful day, she said to herself, packing the equipment into her backpack. At 19 years old, Nari had been working as a geological surveyor on this mining colony for 2 years. She was small and quiet, with dark hair always tied back in a simple ponytail. Most people thought she was just another young colonist trying to make money on the outer rim of space. They were wrong about many things. "Nari, come back to base!" The voice of Park Dae-ho crackled through her radio. He was the chief engineer of their mining operation, and the closest thing to a father she had ever known. Nari smiled as she started walking back toward the colony. Buildings. Dae-ho had found her 12 years ago on a destroyed transport ship. Her parents were dead, and she was just a scared 7-year-old girl floating in space. He took her in, raised her, and taught her everything about mining, engineering, and survival. What she did not know was that he had also taught her other things. Things that seemed like games and exercises were actually something much more dangerous. The colony of New Seoul was small but busy. 300 people lived and worked here, mining the rare elements that powered starships across the galaxy. Humans, mostly, but also some friendly aliens who had joined the Galactic Federation. The bird-like Altarians helped with the flying. Surveys. The crystal people called Zelenites were experts at finding precious metals. Everyone worked together peacefully. Nari walked through the main street, waving at the shopkeepers and workers she knew. Mrs. Kim sold hot food from her small restaurant. Mr. Beek fixed broken equipment in his repair shop. Children played in the small park between the residential buildings. It was a good life, simple and safe. That was about to change forever. "Nari, there you are." Dae-ho met her at the entrance to the main mining facility. He was a big man, 55 years old, with gray hair and hands that showed years of hard work, but his eyes were sharp and always watching. "How are the readings today?" "Very good. The new site has lots of lithium crystals. Can start full mining next week." Dae-ho nodded, but Nari noticed he seemed worried about something. His eyes kept looking at the sky, and his hand stayed near the emergency radio on his belt. "Is something wrong?" she asked. "Just checking the weather reports. Some solar storms predicted for tonight." Let's get his hand on her shoulder. "Let's get inside and finish the daily reports." They walked into the facility together. The building was full of computers, mining equipment, and storage areas for the extracted materials. Nari had spent countless hours here, learning about geology and engineering from Dae-ho. As they worked on the reports, Nari noticed that Dae-ho kept checking his personal communications device. This was unusual. He rarely used it, except for official colony business. "Dae-ho, are you sure everything is okay?" He looked at her for a long moment. There was something in his eyes she had never seen before. Fear, sadness, she could not tell. "Nari, I need to tell you something important." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small metal chain with 2 rectangular tags hanging from it. "These belonged to me a long time ago, before I came to work on mining colonies." She had never seen the tags before. It looked like military identification, but the writing was in codes she did not understand. "What are they?" "Promise me something. If anything bad happens to our colony, if we are attacked or in danger, you take these tags and keep them safe. Never let anyone else see them unless you have no choice." "Attacked? Who would attack us? We are just a mining colony." Before Dae-ho could answer, all the lights in the building went out. Emergency power came on a second later, painting everything in red light. Then the alarm started ringing. "Attention all colonists." The voice of Colony Director Yoon came over the speakers. "This is not a drill. Unknown ships are approaching our system. All civilians report to emergency shelters immediately." Dae-ho was already moving, grabbing equipment from storage lockers that Nari had never seen him open before. Inside were weapons, communication devices, and other military equipment. "Oh, what is that stuff?" "The things I hoped I would never need again." He handed her a small backpack already packed with supplies. "Listen carefully. Take the service tunnels to Shelter Area 3. Wait there until I come for you. I am not leaving you. You have to. This is not a normal attack, Nari. These are not pirates or criminals. He pressed the metal tags into her hand and closed her fingers around them. These are Vrex Empire ships. Nari felt her blood turn cold. Everyone in the galaxy knew about the Vrex Empire. They were a race of giant, reptile-like aliens who conquered planets and enslaved other species. They had been fighting wars with the Galactic Federation for decades. Why would they come here? We are just miners, because they need slaves for their gladiator worlds. And because... He stopped talking and listened. In the distance, they could hear the sound of ships landing and weapons firing. Go now. Deho pushed her toward the service tunnel entrance. Remember what I taught you about hiding and moving quietly? As Nari started to leave, she heard him talking into his communication device. This is Nightfall 7 to any Federation. Forces in range. Colony New Sol is under Vrex attack. Quest immediate assistance. Nightfall 7? Nari had never heard that name before. She crawled through the service tunnels as fast as she could. Behind her, she heard the sounds of battle getting closer. Weapons fire, explosions, and the terrible roaring sounds that Vrex soldiers made when they fought. When she reached Shelter Area 3, she found 30 other colonists already hiding there. They were scared and whispering to each other about what was happening. "Where is Engineer Park?" asked Mrs. Kim. "He stayed behind to help with the defense," Nari said. For 2 hours, they waited in the dark shelter. The sounds of fighting continued above them. Sometimes the ground shook from explosions. Then everything went quiet. "Maybe it is over," someone whispered. "Maybe our defense systems worked." The shelter door exploded inward. Seven feet tall, and covered in dark green scales. They wore black armor and carried energy weapons that glowed red in the darkness. "All humans come out now." The lead Rex spoke in broken Galactic standard language. "You are prisoners of Vrex Empire." The colonists had no choice but to obey. As they were marched out of the shelter, Nari saw the destruction above ground. Many buildings were damaged or burning. Bodies of colonists and Vrex soldiers lay in the streets, but she did not see Deho anywhere. The prisoners were loaded into transport ships. As Nari was pushed aboard, she kept Deho's tags hidden in her closed fist. Whatever secrets they contained, she would protect them. She did not know that those secrets would soon change everything the galaxy thought. They knew about humans. The transport ship lifted off, carrying Nari and the other prisoners toward a future of gladiatorial combat and death. But the Vrex Empire had made a terrible mistake. They thought they had captured a helpless human girl. They had actually captured something much more dangerous. The prison transport ship smelled like fear and metal. Nari sat in the corner of the cargo hold with 40 other prisoners from different planets. Most of them were crying or praying to their gods. Some just stared at nothing with empty eyes. Nari kept quiet and watched everything. The journey took 3 days. The Vrex guards brought them water and food that tasted like cardboard, but at least it kept them alive. During the trip, Nari learned about her fellow prisoners. There was Kim Hyanwu, a human soldier who had been captured during a border fight 6 months ago. He was 28 years old, strong, and had scars on his arms from previous battles. He tried to keep the other humans calm and organized. "Stay together," he told them quietly when the guards were not listening. In gladiator worlds, the ones who work as a team live longer. Nari also noticed Choi Min-ha, a human engineer who had been captured from a research station. She was 35 years old, smart, and always looking at the ship's systems with calculating eyes. Even as a prisoner, she was trying to understand how everything worked. The other prisoners were from many different species. Bird-like Altarians, with beautiful feathers, but broken spirits. Crystal people called Zelenites, who made sad singing sounds. Water-breathing hydrants, who needed special tanks to survive. All of them were going to the same place, Carnifax Prime, the most famous gladiator world in the galaxy. I heard about this place, whispered one of the Altarians. They make prisoners fight each other while rich people watch and bet money. How long do most fighters live? Asked a young human man. Hianwu looked grim. If you are lucky and strong, maybe a few months. Most die in their first fight. Nari touched the dog tags hidden in her pocket. She still did not understand what they meant, but she knew they were important. Deho had died protecting their colony, and his last words were about these tags. On the third day, the ship suddenly shook and changed direction. Through the small windows, they could see a planet covered in red sand and enormous buildings. Carnifax Prime looked like a giant desert with cities built on top of it. "Welcome to your new home," said the Vrexguard captain with a nasty laugh. "Those who entertain us well might live for weeks." The ship landed with a loud crash. The prisoners were marched out into the hot, dry air of Carnifax Prime. The sky was orange, and two suns burned overhead. In the distance, Nari could see the massive arena where the fights happened. It was bigger than any building she had ever seen. They were taken to a processing center, where Vrex bureaucrats checked each prisoner and decided their fate. The officer in charge was Captain Vorth, a lazy-looking Vrex who seemed bored with his job. "Name?" he asked Nari when her turn came. "Lee Nari, age 19. Captain Vorth looked at her small size and gentle appearance. Another weak human female. "Put her in the fodder category." "What does that mean?" Nari asked. "It means you die quickly for the crowd's amusement," Vorth said without looking up from his papers. Next, the prisoners were divided into different groups. The strongest and most dangerous were put in the warrior category. They got better food and training because they were expected to provide good entertainment. The fodder category was for prisoners who were expected to die fast. They got the worst food, worst sleeping areas, and no training. They were just meat for the real fighters to kill. Nari found herself in a large underground room with 50 Atras, fodder prisoners. The walls were made of metal, and the only light came from weak bulbs hanging from the ceiling. There were no windows, no comfort, just metal beds and basic toilets. "Do not look so sad," said Kim Hyenwoo, who had been put in the warrior category but came to visit during the rest period. "Being fodder means they do not expect much from you. Sometimes that can be an advantage." "How?" "Because no one pays attention to fodder. You can observe, learn, and maybe find opportunities." That night, as the other prisoners tried to sleep, Nari finally had a chance to really look at Deho's dog tags. She used a small, light crystal that Minha had secretly taken from a broken wall panel. The first tag had normal information. Park Deho, Terran Defense Force. Service number 847229156. The second tag made her heart stop beating for a moment. Apex Predator Terran, Special FORCES Project Nightfall Classification Level, Omega She. Read it 3 times to make sure she was not making a mistake. Then she quickly hid the tags again. What was Project Nightfall? What did Apex Predator mean? And why had Deho, who seemed like a simple mining engineer, been part of something called Terran Special Forces? Cannot sleep? Minna sat down next to her quietly. "Just thinking about home?" Nari lied. "I understand. I keep thinking about my family too." Minha looked around to make sure no guards were listening. "But we need to focus on survival now. I've been watching the systems in this place. The guards change shifts every 6 hours. The food comes from automated systems. And most importantly, the arena has weak spots in its security. Are you planning to escape? Maybe, but first, we need to survive our first fights. They will start using fodder prisoners in 3 days. Over the next 2 days, Nari watched and learned everything she could. She studied the guard routines, the other prisoners, and the layout of their prison. She also started remembering things that Deho had taught her over the years. He had called them games and exercises for staying healthy. But now she realized they were something else entirely. The way he taught her to move silently through the mining tunnels. It's the breathing exercises that made her calm during dangerous situations. It's the stretching routines that made her incredibly flexible and strong. The problem-solving games that taught her to find weak points in any system. All of it had been training, military training. On the second night, Hyenwoo came to visit the fodder section again. "Tomorrow they announce the fight schedule," he said. Some of you will be selected for the first matches. What should we do? Asked a young Altarian. Run fast, dodge a lot, and try to survive long enough to entertain the crowd. If they like you, they might move you to the warrior category. What if we cannot fight well? Hyenwoo's face became sad, and you die quickly. At least it will not hurt for long. That night, Nari lay on her metal bed and thought about everything. The dog tags, the mysterious training, and the fights that were coming. She touched the tags through her shirt and made a decision. Whatever Project Nightfall was, whatever Apex Predator meant, she was going to find out. And she was going to survive long enough to understand why Deho had hidden this secret from her. The next morning, the announcement came over the prison speakers. The following prisoners will fight in tomorrow's arena matches. Naree's name was on the list. As she walked to the preparation area, she noticed something strange. Some of the guards were looking at her differently now, not with boredom or cruelty, but with something that looked almost like curiosity. She wondered why. She would find out soon enough. When her dog tags were read publicly in the arena, everything would change. Not just for her, but for everyone who thought they knew what humans really were. The galaxy was about to learn that they had been very, very wrong about Earth's children. The morning of the fights came too quickly. Nari woke up to the sound of metal doors opening and Vrex guards shouting orders. All fighters to the preparation area. Now, her stomach felt sick with fear, but she tried to stay calm like Deho had taught her. She touched the dog tags under her prison uniform one more time, then followed the other prisoners down a long metal hallway. The preparation area was a large room filled with basic weapons and armor. Most of it was old and damaged, but it was better than fighting with bare hands. Choose quickly, said a bored Vrex guard. You get 30 seconds. Nari looked at the weapons. There were swords, spears, axes, and energy guns. The other prisoners grabbed the biggest weapons they could find, thinking that bigger meant better. But Nari remembered something Deho had told her during one of their games. He had said the best weapon is the one that fits you perfectly. Size does not matter if you cannot use it well. She picked up 2 small curved knives. They felt right in her hands, light and balanced. She also took a piece of flexible armor. That would not slow her down. Smart choice, said Kim Hyenwoo, who was preparing for his own fight. Those knives are quick and quiet. Hope I remember how to use them, Nari said. You will be fine. Just remember what I told you about survival. One by one, the prisoners were called to fight. Nari watched through a small window as the battles happened in the arena above. The crowd was huge, thousands of aliens from different species, all cheering for blood and death. Most of the fights were quick and brutal. The stronger prisoners killed the weaker ones in minutes. The crowd loved it when someone died in an interesting way. Then a guard called her name, Lee Nari. You are next. Her heart started beating very fast. She walked through a tunnel that led up to the arena floor. The sound of the crowd got louder and louder until it was like thunder in her ears. When she stepped into the arena, the bright lights blinded her for a moment. The space was enormous, bigger than 10 football fields, with sand on the ground and high walls all around. Thousands of aliens sat in seats above, screaming and making noise. In the center of the arena stood her opponent. It was a Krillian warrior. It's one of the most dangerous fighting species in the galaxy. It looked like a giant insect, 8 feet tall, with 4 arms that ended in razor-sharp claws. Its body was covered in hard black armor, and its eyes glowed red with anger. The crowd went wild when they saw the matchup. A tiny human girl against a deadly Krillian warrior? They expected this to be over in seconds. The arena announcer, a fat slug-like alien, spoke into his microphone. His voice echoed through the stadium. Ladies and gentlemen, in the red corner, we have Krex9, undefeated Krillian warrior with 15 kills. The crowd cheered, and in the blue corner, we have... Let me check her prisoner information. The announcer paused as he read from his screen. His voice changed as he read the details. 8, Niari, human female, age 19, captured from mining. Colony New Soul. Prisoner classification. Fodder. Military identification tags show... ... The announcer's voice got very quiet. Then he spoke again, but now he sounded confused and worried. Military identification shows. Apex Predator, Terran Special, FORCES, Project Nightfall classification level, Omega. The entire stadium went completely silent. 50,000. Aliens stopped making noise at the same time. Even the Krillian warrior stopped moving and stared at Nari with new attention. In the VIP section, several military officers from different species started talking urgently into their communication devices. Admiral Zeth of the Altarian Navy dropped his drink and immediately began sending emergency messages. But most of the crowd did not understand what they had just heard. They just knew that something important had happened, something that made their leaders very nervous. "Begin the fight," shouted the arena master, trying to get things back to normal. The Krillian warrior charged at Nari with all 4 claws extended. It moved incredibly fast, faster than most beings could even see. Nari did what every human would do when facing a monster. She ran away. The crowd started laughing and booing. They thought they were watching typical human cowardice. Some aliens threw trash into the arena and shouted insults. "Weak human. We quickly. Boring fight." But Kim Hyun-woo, watching from the prisoner area, noticed something strange. Nari was not running in panic. She was running in patterns, testing her opponent. Learning how it moved, the Krillian chased her around the arena, getting more and more angry. Every time it got close, Nari would dodge at the last second and run in a different direction. The warrior was fast, but Nari was faster and smarter. After 2 minutes of this, the crowd was getting bored. Some people started leaving their seats. Then the Krillian managed to corner Nari against the arena wall. She had nowhere left to run. The warrior raised all 4 claws, ready to cut her into pieces. Finally shouted someone in the crowd, "Kill the weak human." But something changed in Nari's eyes. Something that had been sleeping inside her suddenly woke up. The Krillian swung its claws down toward her head. Nari was not there anymore. She had moved so fast that most of the crowd could not see exactly what happened. One moment she was trapped against the wall. The next moment she was behind the Krillian warrior, and both of her knives were buried deep in the creature's neck. The Krillian made a horrible sound and tried to turn around, but Nari was already moving again. She pulled out her knives and struck again, this time hitting the exact spots where the warrior's armor was weakest. Her movements were perfect. Every cut was precise. Every step was calculated. She moved like she had been fighting Krillians her entire life, in 30 seconds. The undefeated warrior was dead on the sand. The arena was completely silent again. No one cheered. No one moved. Everyone just stared at the small human, girl standing over the body of one of the galaxy's most dangerous fighters. Nari looked up at the crowd. Her face was calm, but her eyes were different now. They were the eyes of something that had been pretending to be harmless, but was actually very dangerous. In the VIP section, Admiral Zeth was speaking rapidly into his emergency communicator. "Get me Earth Command immediately. We have a Code Black situation. I repeat, we have an active Apex Predator on Carnifax Prime." Throughout the galaxy, military leaders who had been around 20 years ago started remembering stories they had hoped were not true. Stories about humans who could kill anything. Stories about a secret project that created super soldiers who fought like demons and thought like computers. Stories about Project Nightfall. The crowd finally found their voices and started cheering, but it was different now. They were not cheering for entertainment anymore. They were cheering because they had just witnessed something they had never seen before. They had seen an apex predator hunt. As Nari walked back toward the tunnel, she noticed that the guards were looking at her with new respect. In fear, she did not know it yet, but news of her fight was already spreading across the galaxy at light speed. By tomorrow, every major government would know that humanity had been hiding something important, something that was about to change everything. Within 6 hours of Nari's fight, the entire galaxy was talking about the apex predator on Carnifax Prime. News broadcasts, military channels, and diplomatic networks all carried the same shocking footage. A small human girl killing a Krillian. warrior with deadly precision. On Earth, the emergency call came at 3 in the morning. Ambassador Yoon Ji-hai, you need to get to the communication center immediately, said her assistant.
Ow.
The Galactic Council is demanding answers about Project Nightfall. Ambassador Yoon had been Earth's chief diplomat for 10 years. She was smart, calm, and very good at handling difficult situations. But when she heard those 2 words, her face went pale. Tell the council I will be there in 1 hour, she said. Contact the president. We have a code black situation. 24 hours later, Ambassador Yoon was on a fast diplomatic ship, heading to Carnifax Prime. Her mission was officially to negotiate for prisoner rights. Her real mission was to find out how much the galaxy had learned about humanity's most dangerous secret. Back on the Gladiator world, Nari had been moved from the fodder section to a special security area. Her new cell was bigger and cleaner, but the guards outside were heavily armed and looked nervous. What is happening? She asked Kim Hoyeonwoo when he was allowed to visit her. Everyone is scared of you now, he said quietly. The guards, the other prisoners, even the arena masters, keep saying words I do not understand. Apex Predator, Project Nightfall, Special Forces. I do not understand those words either. Hoyeonwoo looked at her carefully. Nari, what you did in that arena, ... That was not normal human fighting. Where did you learn to move like that? My father taught me exercises and games. I thought they were just for staying healthy. Your father was Park Dae-ho, the mining engineer. Yes. The same Park Dae-ho whose dog tags say he was in Terran Special Forces? Nari nodded. Hoyeonwoo was quiet for a long time. Then he said, I think your father was much more than a mining engineer. And I think you are much more than a normal human. That night, alone in her cell, Nari tried to remember everything Dae-ho had taught her over the years. The more she thought about it, the more she realized that nothing had been random. The breathing exercises that made her heart rate slow down during stress. The balance games that taught her to move without making sound. The reaction tests that made her faster than she should be. The problem solving that taught her to find weak spots in any opponent. All of it had been training. Military training for something called Project Nightfall. But what was Project Nightfall? And why had Dae-ho never told her the truth? The answers came in flashbacks that started the next day. As Nari tried to sleep, memories began coming back. Memories that had been hidden deep in her mind, 20 years ago, when she was just a baby. ... Lee Soo-jin sat in a secret laboratory on Earth, holding her newborn daughter. She was the lead scientist for Project Nightfall, the most classified program in human history. The genetic modifications are complete, she told her research partner. The child will develop enhanced reflexes, improved muscle memory, and accelerated learning ability, but the changes will not activate until she experiences extreme stress. Are you sure this is safe? Asked her partner. We are experimenting on your own daughter. The alien species we have encountered are all stronger, faster, or more advanced than humans. If we want to survive in this galaxy, we need soldiers who can match them. This child will be the first of a new kind of human.
Oh, what if the other
species discover what we are doing? Then we pretend the project failed. We hide our enhanced soldiers among normal colonists and hope we never need them. But then the war with the hostile aliens ended. Peace treaties were signed. Project Nightfall was officially canceled. Dr. Lee Soo-jin destroyed most of the research data and sent her daughter to live with Park Dae-ho, one of the project's best operatives. He was told to raise the child as normal, but teach her the skills she would need if her abilities ever activated. If anything happens to her parents, Dr. Lee had told Dae-ho, you are the only family she will have. Keep her safe, keep her secret, and if her abilities ever emerge, help her understand what she really is. The flashbacks continued for 3 days. Each night, Nari remembered more about her true origins. She was not just the daughter of a Project Nightfall scientist. She was Project Nightfall. The final experiment, the perfect fusion of human intelligence and enhanced physical ability. While this was happening, Ambassador Yoon arrived at Carnifax Prime and demanded to meet with Nari privately. I am here representing Earth's government, she told the Vrex prison commander. I need to speak with the human prisoner immediately. ... That prisoner is dangerous, said the commander. She killed our best gladiator like it was nothing. She is also a citizen of Earth, and I have diplomatic rights to see her. The meeting took place in a secure room, with guards watching from outside. Ambassador Yoon looked at Nari for a long time before speaking. Do you know who you really are? She asked. I am starting to remember, Nari said. My real mother was Dr. Lee Soo-jin. She worked on something called Project Nightfall. Project Nightfall was humanity's response to the alien species who tried to destroy us 20 years ago. We created enhanced soldiers who could fight anything the galaxy threw at us. Enhanced how? Genetic modifications made before birth, proved reflexes, strength, speed, and learning ability. Most importantly, the ability to analyze any opponent and find their weaknesses instantly. Am I the only one? Ambassador Yoon shook her head. There were 57 successful subjects. After the war ended, they were given new identities and sent to live quiet lives on frontier colonies. We hoped their abilities would never be needed. What happened to the others? We thought they were all dead. Colony raids, accidents, natural deaths over 20 years. Until now, we believed you were the last one. Nari thought about this. So I am not human. You are human. You are just human plus something extra. You're what we might evolve into someday. If we survive long enough, why are you telling me this now? Ambassador Yoon looked sad. Because your fight was broadcast across the galaxy. Every major power now knows that humans have been hiding enhanced soldiers. Some species are terrified. Others are angry that we lied to them. Some are planning to attack Earth before we can create more soldiers like you. What do you want me to do? Right now, I want you to stay alive. The galaxy is watching you. If you die quickly, they might think you were just lucky in that one fight. But if you keep winning, they will know that humans are more dangerous than they thought. Exactly. That might be the only thing that keeps Earth safe. As Ambassador Yoon left, Nari realized that she was no longer just fighting for her own survival. She was fighting for the survival of her entire species. The next morning, she was scheduled for another arena match. This time, against 3 opponents at once. The galaxy was watching, and Nari was ready to show them what an apex predator could really do. The arena was more crowded than it had ever been in its 50-year history. Word about the apex predator had spread across the galaxy so fast that beings from hundreds of different species came to Carnifax Prime just to see Nari fight. But this was not going to be a normal gladiator match in the VIP section. Military leaders from 12 different species sat together, all watching with intense interest. They had come to see if the human was really as dangerous as the videos suggested, or if her first victory had just been luck. Admiral Zeth of the Altarian Navy leaned forward in his seat. If she wins this fight, we need to consider the human threat level immediately. One human cannot threaten entire civilizations, said General Krex of the Vrex Empire. That depends on how many more like her exist, replied Admiral Sheld. In the preparation area below, Nari was getting ready for the most important fight of her life. She now understood what she was and why she was different. More importantly, she understood that the entire galaxy was watching. Kim Hyenwoo and Choi Minha had been allowed to see her before the fight. The guards say you are fighting 3 opponents today, Hyenwoo said. A Vrex super soldier, a Krillian hunter, and a Zelenite crystal warrior. They want to test your limits. Are you ready for this? Asked Minha. Nari looked at her friends. These were good people who had been captured and forced to fight for entertainment. They represented all the innocent beings who suffered because the galaxy's powerful species enjoyed watching others die. I am ready, she said. But not just for the fight. What do you mean? I mean, I am tired of people treating other people like toys for their amusement. Before they could ask what she meant, the arena master called her name. As Nari walked through the tunnel toward the arena, she made a decision. She was not going to just win this fight. She was going to end the gladiatorial system on Carnifax Prime forever. When she stepped into the arena, the crowd went wild. 50,000 beings from across the galaxy screamed and cheered. But Nari noticed something else. In the highest section of the arena, she could see broadcast cameras from news networks across known space. The entire galaxy was watching this. "Fight, ladies and gentlemen," shouted the announcer. "Today we have a special triple combat. The human apex predator versus 3 of our strongest champions." The first opponent entered from the opposite side of the arena. It was Vex 7, or Vex Super Soldier, who had been genetically modified to be faster and stronger than normal Vex. It was 9 feet tall, covered in metal armor, and carried energy weapons in both hands. The second opponent was Crix Hunter, a Krillian, who specialized in killing other gladiators. Unlike the warrior Nari had fought before, this one was smart and experienced. It carried curved blades and moved with deadly grace. The third opponent made the crowd gasp. It was Shard Killer, a Zelenite crystal warrior whose body was made of living diamond. Physical weapons could not hurt it. It could shoot deadly energy beams from its crystal hands. 3 champions against 1 small human girl. The betting odds were 100-1 against Nari. "Begin," shouted the arena master. All 3 opponents charged at Nari from different directions. The smart strategy would have been to run, dodge, and try to separate them so she could fight one at a time. Instead, Nari did something no one expected. She ran straight toward them. The Vex Super Soldier fired its energy weapons. But Nari was no longer where the shots were aimed. She had moved so fast that she seemed to disappear and reappear behind the creature. Her knives found the weak spots in its armor, and it fell dead before it could turn around. The Krillian hunter swung its blades at her, but Nari caught its wrists and twisted. The sound of breaking bones echoed through the arena. The hunter dropped its weapons and collapsed. The crystal warrior shot energy beams at her, but Nari had already spotted the pattern in its attacks. She dodged between the beams and struck the creature at the exact point where its crystal structure was weakest. It shattered into 1,000 pieces. Total time, 45 seconds. The arena was completely silent, but Nari was not finished. She walked to the center of the arena and looked up at the VIP section where all the military leaders were sitting. Then, she looked directly at the broadcast cameras. "My name is Nari," she said in a voice that carried clearly through the arena's speakers. "I am human. I am the last survivor of something called Project Nightfall. For 20 years, my people have tried to convince you that we are peaceful. We are peaceful. But we are also something else." She held up the dog tags that had started. "This whole situation, we are survivors. We are pack hunters. We adapt to any situation and overcome any enemy. You have spent years forcing innocent beings to fight and die for your entertainment. You think this makes you powerful?" The crowd started to murmur nervously. "You are wrong. True power is not making others suffer. True power is protecting those who cannot protect themselves."
Suddenly,
explosions rocked the arena. The lights went out for a moment, then emergency power came on. Through the chaos, Kim Hyen-woo, Choi Min-ha, and dozens of other prisoners ran into the arena, carrying weapons they had somehow acquired. "This is a prisoner revolt," announced Min-ha through a stolen communication device. "Now, or face the consequences." But the biggest shock came when ships began landing outside the arena. Not Vex ships or prison transports. These were military vessels from the Galactic Federation, Earth Defense Force, and several other major powers. Ambassador Yoon's voice came over the arena's communication system. "By order of the Galactic Council, the gladiatorial system on Carnifax Prime is hereby shut down permanently. All prisoners are to be released immediately." In the VIP section, the alien military leaders were frantically calling their homeworlds. "We have a problem," Admiral Zeth spoke into his emergency communicator. "The humans have more than one enhanced soldier." This was a coordinated operation. What he did not know was that there were no other enhanced soldiers. This had been planned by normal humans using intelligence, determination, and the simple fact that most alien species had underestimated what ordinary humans could accomplish. When properly motivated, as the prisoners were freed and the gladiator masters arrested, Nari stood in the center of the arena and addressed the galaxy one final time. "We told you we were peaceful, and you thought that meant we were weak. Told you we wanted friendship, and you thought that meant we were helpless. You were wrong about both things." She looked directly at the cameras. "Humans are peaceful because We choose to be, not because we have to be. Now, we are friendly because we want to be, not because we cannot be dangerous. Remember this the next time you think about enslaving innocent beings or threatening our colonies. The broadcast ended, but the message had been received across the galaxy. Within weeks, 3 major alien powers withdrew their fleets from human space. The gladiatorial system was banned on 12 worlds. Species across the galaxy began treating humans with a new level of respect, not because they feared human technology or numbers, but because they had learned an important truth about Earth's children. They were apex predators who had chosen to be guardians instead, and that choice made them the most dangerous species in the galaxy.